James Kemp, and lieutenant, U.S. Navy. Then in 1990, June of 1990, we had just brought on fuel, and they brought on a little too much. The fuel had gone up. Normally, when you bring on a little too much, you press a tank too full. It's got vents that blow a little overboard, and that's like the fail-safe. Oh shoot, there's fuel coming over. Cut it off, right? So they did. What they didn't realize, what nobody realized since the last overhaul, was that there was a trunk that had steam lines in it, and this vent line went through it. And it had been forgotten about. It didn't show up on anybody's maintenance records. Normally there's I forget what they're called now, but there's these sheets that say every space on the ship, who's responsible for getting in there and preserving it and taking care of the seals and all that stuff. Well, this space wasn't on the list. Somebody had forgotten to put it on when they did the last overhaul. At least that's what we think. So stuff in there was the seals and the couplings for the steam lines weren't getting looked at. And then when the steam started to come out, you had moisture, so we had rust happening all over the space. The vent line from the fuel tank had rusted through. At least it had holes in it. So the fuel had accumulated at the base of the thing near all around the steam lines. We were warming up the catapults. These steam lines fed the catapults. We were warming up the catapults for flight operations, and somebody noticed in the space, just adjoining the trunk, somebody noticed that this white smoke, white fumes coming like somewhere. The flying squad responded. This is the rapid response firefighting teams. They responded. They saw where it was coming from. They had to get a handle on it. They cracked the bolts around the entrance to the trunk, opened it. Don't know if there was any other way around that or not, but that let oxygen into the space. The resulting explosion killed 2 people instantly, burned a whole bunch more. One of them died later in hospital. The fire raged for hours, and the fuel had gotten down. It took out the internal communications again, so the loudspeakers on the ship were out, so nobody knew this was happening. It was really quite a thing. It's still, for anybody who was there, it's still emotional to remember it. After the fire was supposedly out, they poured, just dumped water from every place they could find, filled up these spaces with water to suppress the fire. We figured it was out. Most likely whatever air was there was just full of carbon monoxide or dioxide and whatever. At this point it wasn't going to be breathable. But somebody had to go down and see, like, what shape are we in? Is it out or isn't it? The ship, this was, again, I was in deck division. The ship's bosun is like, next to the captain, the bosun is God. This is a warrant officer 4, been in for 30 some odd years. He was going down. The rest of the deck division and many of the senior guys were exhausted. They'd been fighting this fire for so long. I had been on bridge watches, so somebody had to go down with him. I went down with him. So we go down. It's okay. We come back up. We vent the spaces. Chief Warrant Officer Smith. I think the name is John, which makes it very hard to track him down, because John Smith, like, okay. But it was, he and I weren't close. We were in the same department. We talked, but like, we respected each other. And it was, I don't know, it was weird. I almost felt kind of honored to be a guy having his back, going down into there. He went down one below me, so he saw more of it than I did. What I saw was a lot of smoke, some fire damage, A lot of stuff, it had been wet, pour more water into it. I didn't see the worst of the damage. The whole point of going down was just, is there anything still burning or isn't there? Because if there wasn't, well then, okay, now we can vent the spaces, we can get people in there to really evaluate the damage. So as far as the real extent of the damage, I don't really know. I know that it took some time to make the repairs. But that wasn't the end for the ship, though. It wasn't. So there was a call, like, all right, the ship's just too old, we got to decommission it. But the, what was it, Kuwait had just been invaded, and we were heading to the Gulf.